All right, guys, welcome back. 8:09 right now. We are continuing our Democracy 2014 coverage that we've been doing all election season long. We're talking about the office Superintendent of Public Instruction here in Arizona. Right now, I'm with Democrat David Garcia. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Sure. Now, I want to ask you this. Talk to us. What is your vision for this office if you're elected?
Well, my vision is that we need to continue to move Arizona forward. We need to make sure our students are ready for high standards, ready to compete nationally, because the jobs of the future, the changes coming up in the future, and for our state as well, means that our students are going to have to learn more, know more, and really do more in order to compete.
Okay, and that all sounds great, but how are you going to do it? What's the plan of action?
I'll tell you, the plan of action is to measure what matters. Right now, almost exclusively, we focus on standardized test scores. We're going to include some other measures in addition to standardized test scores. For example, getting a career and technical education certificate, advanced placement credits, maybe proficiency in multiple world languages. Those are the kind of skills that students are going to need in order to be ready for the real world and ready for the many changes that are coming.
Okay, and let me just ask you this on a personal note. You're
Sure.
a dad.
I am.
Your beautiful daughter Lola is sitting right here with us. Oh, look, she's on TV too. You can wave, sweetheart. You're a dad. You have kids. I mean, what can you say to parents? You know, what would you want to see for your daughter here in Arizona as far as schools are concerned? What are you going to do for other parents out there?
You know, what I want is I want my daughters to be in a great school, but I also want every other child in Arizona to have that same opportunity. What every family wants in Arizona, regardless of your political stripe, is they want their public schools to help their kids do better than they did. And that's exactly why I'm running, and that's my goal, is to make sure our public schools help prepare our students for the future.
Sure, and you know, a lot of times people debate about funding. That seems to be an issue in whatever state you're in. So how are you going to sort of make the best with what you have money-wise? How are you going to make that dollar stretch even farther?
Well, you should understand that our state does very well with that. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce recently came out with some grades.
Sure.
We got a B in an effective use of resources. So our educators are doing a lot with the little that they have. What we need to do in Arizona is begin reinvesting in our public schools, because the path forward for our state from an economic and from a civic perspective is having strong public schools.
Okay, real quick, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing students these days? There's a number of them. What do you think is the biggest one, though?
I think the biggest challenge is relevancy. See, I'm a first-generation college student, and when I was in high school, if it wasn't relevant, I didn't study as hard as I could or should have. And the challenge right now for students is, how do they find relevancy in what they're studying so that they can begin to educate themselves? I think it's a big contributor to our dropout rate in Arizona. And once you get students excited about their own education, they start to teach themselves. And I think that's going to be a huge advancement here in Arizona.
Okay, Mr. Garcia, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to thank you so much for joining us again, Democratic candidate for Superintendent of Public Instruction here in Arizona. We've also reached out to your Republican challenger, Diane Douglas, and we hope to have her on the show next week. But again, Mr. Garcia, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Best of luck.